After major setbacks last year, everything's on the line this season for these 10 NBA players. So this video I'll predict if each of them can bounce back and how either their careers, reputation, or both are at risk if they don't. First, Ali gets the shout out, who says Trae Young is without a doubt most likely to break out next season because he's been working with Kobe this offseason, putting on pounds of muscle. Then he predicts Trae leads Atlanta to the playoffs. Great comment all around. Trae added 16 pounds to be exact. But for next vid shout out, stay tuned for tonight's question and Competing Community Speaks by leaving your take on it. The latest update on the former #1 pick in 2017, Markelle Fultz, came from Magic head coach Steve Clifford on July the 16th, who said there's still no timetable for Markelle's return from his shoulder injury. He's been diagnosed with thoracic outlet syndrome, which essentially puts a pinching-like pressure on his collarbone. Fully healthy in college, this man was a plus 40% three-point shooter with a smooth, fundamentally sound jumper with a high release. In the NBA, he's turned down the very shots he made look easy in college, while double clutching on jump shots and shooting cringeworthy free throws. He hasn't been completely awful with his production when he's been on the floor and stayed healthy. Orlando's not the worst place for him to be. I like his slashing ability, but it's still too tough to trust his shooting and health. He needs more time removed from his injury. You can't give up on him because he's only 21 in his third year, but next year specifically isn't going to be the season he puts up the bounce-back breakout year I'm predicting for some of these players. Scary Terry had a ridiculous 2018 playoffs, leading the Celtics light years ahead of where Kyrie led them the next year, one game from the finals back in 2018. Sadly, he followed that breakout postseason by failing to make 40% of his shots in the regular season in 2018-19 off the bench, and then shooting 32% from the field in the 2019 playoffs, which included shooting 12% from three-point range and 24% from the field in their 5-game series against Milwaukee. Michael Jordan followed that by handing Rozier $58 million over just 3 years, so he joins Nicholas Batum and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist as one of MJ's overpaid gems. But with as many minutes and shots as he wants, pretty much the opposite of his Celtics situation, I think Terry has a great season for a young Charlotte team. Yes, he bounces back, but whether or not he's worth $19 million is another story. Superstars raise everything from their efficiency to their decision-making in the playoffs. That's been the opposite of what Russell Westbrook's done throughout the last 3 playoffs. The points, assists, and rebounds on paper look historically great, but he's failed to shoot 40% from the field, averaged no less than 4.5 turnovers per game, and taken the most shots on a team that's had 3 consecutive first-round exits. The good news for Russ is that James is a lot better offensively than PG, so without a doubt Westbrook is going to have to take a step back, right? Regardless, the beard creates a ton of space for anyone he plays next to. A change of scenery is good for any NBA player, and the Harden and Westbrook combo has already won a West title before. Brody bounces back, but he's going to have to lessen his ego and take on the role as second fiddle if Houston wants any success come the postseason. Now for the first man on tonight's list that legitimately has his NBA career on the line this upcoming season, the former All-Star and NBA and Defensive Player of the Year, Dwight Howard is close to a decade removed from those accomplishments. Since demanding a trade from the Magic in 2012, his move to Memphis in a trade marks the 6th team Dwight's played for in 7 years. The grass isn't always greener on the other side of a trade request. That's the lesson here, folks. Because after back-to-back tumultuous relationships with Kobe and Harden after leaving Orlando, he's bounced from the Hawks, from the Hornets, to the Wizards, and now the Grizzlies. I doubt the 33-year-old bounces back in any significant way. His all-around lack of offensive skill could be his ending point after his explosiveness of the past are now just a distant memory. Farewell season or not, as the former 10-time All-Star and scoring champ approaches the age of 36, 2019-20 will probably be Carmelo Anthony's last shot at maintaining the heartbeat on his NBA career. His time in Houston, 10 games in, that was way too little of a sample size for the Rockets to waive him. In a few days ago on ESPN's First Take, Melo made that point clear.
On a 10-game trial period. Like, this is not something that just happened, right? This is something that's been talked about over these first 10 games of the season. I can't make a 9-man rotation. That's what you're trying to tell me. I've already started to accept the fact that I got to come off the bench, which was very hard for me. I accepted that, and I moved on from that.
It could be too late, but it seems like his ego has settled down and he's finally adjusted his mindset to taking a bench role. That could be a good sign. He's more than capable of making a 9-man rotation, as he said, but will any team take the risk on their locker room of picking him up? One of the greatest scorers of all time deserves another chance, but the risk that a team might not pick him up makes it too much of a risk to predict a bounce-back season. Pistons forward Blake Griffin has a dramatically long injury history, specifically with his left knee, sustaining a sprained left MCL in 2017, a left knee contusion in 2018, and recently soreness in that same knee kept him out 6 of the last Pistons regular season games. That's all led to surgery this offseason on that knee he had on April 24th of this year. Even though Blake's coming off a career high in scoring, he'll need to recover from a potentially career-changing operation that could diminish his athleticism even more than his knee already has. However, the 30-year-old 6-time All-Star I think will have a lot left in the tank. He's added a shockingly quick release on his three-point shot and a high percentage on that very three-pointer. And he's removed his reputation from being just the pure dunker with just a ton of athleticism and that's all he's got. He's added and developed a ton of skill throughout his career, so there should be big-time hope that BG recovers and performs adequately. For a 2020 Pistons team, I've gained more confidence in since blasphemously ranking them 9th in my standings prediction. Again, that video's being remade before the season. The youngest player in NBA history to make an all-defensive team in 2018, DeJounte Murray's ACL tear was tragic for 2 reasons. First, his development into a star, and second, for the Spurs defense. It dropped from the #1 team defense in 17-18 to 12th this past season. His 6'10 wingspan at the point guard spot and passing lane awareness are the keys to his success as an elite defender. Question is, will the most serious knee injury known to NBA players significantly impact his lateral quickness and ability to stay in front of the quickest guards in basketball? Based off the recent quick recoveries of youngins Zach LaVine and Paul George, ACL tears in the modern day could be getting less intense. However, if his play drops off and he re-aggravates his knee like a Derrick Rose, for example, he's going to gain the reputation of an injury-prone player. I think he bounces back next season, though, and continues his projection towards NBA stardom. If the Knicks' #9 pick in 2018, Kevin Knox, doesn't want to be known as a bust in New York, his field goal percentage must improve from the lowly 37% he posted in his rookie season. That made Knox the only top 10 pick in the 2018 draft to shoot under 40% from the field. He did have games where he looked like a future elite scorer, though. Kevin posted a dominant 31 points against a tough Sixer defense and had 26 against the #1 rated defense in the Bucks. His shot-creating skill combined with his 6'11 wingspan allows for his game to develop in 2019-20. A year of experience, 75 games to be exact, and another summer of work can make all the difference for extremely young players like Kevin Knox, with an improved top shot blocker already in Mitchell Robinson. #3 pick in 2019, a future all-star in my opinion, RJ Barrett joining the squad, along with a 20-point scorer in Julius Randle. A lot less of the burden falls on Knox to score the ball for the Knicks, so the efficiency is going to raise significantly. Post-Achilles tear Boogie hasn't been a sight for sore eyes whatsoever. Before the reason for that, in 30 games with the Warriors, DeMarcus had an expected career low in scoring, but his most efficient regular season since 2013-14. But in the second game of the playoffs against the Clippers, he tore his quad and didn't return until the NBA Finals. And just like the Warriors' medical staff rushed Durant and Thompson back, they seem to have done the same to Cousins because he wasn't healthy in the 6 games he played against Toronto whatsoever. In the finals, he shot a measly 11% from three-point range, 36.9% from the field overall, and he only made 54% of his free throws. Since his quickness and consistency have never been the same since 2018's career-altering injury, Cousins doesn't bounce back, at least not in a major way. Sorry, Laker fans. Before the last player, for the honorable mentions, there's the injured Yusuf Nurkic, who broke his leg, Kristaps Porzingis, who tore his ACL, and Victor Oladipo, who suffered a season-ending knee injury, all of whom I expect to bounce back to star caliber once they take the necessary time to fully recover. Meanwhile, if you're wondering why John Wall isn't on the list, he's not expected to play next season. But lastly, there's the hype 2018 pick Mo Bamba, who struggled after being drafted 6th by Orlando, other than having a #1 hit song named after him, of course. Also in a hit song, A. Wiggins is coming off a career low in field goal percentage. 2014's #1 pick became the second ever Canadian to be selected first in a draft. And beside Anthony Bennett, he's the second biggest Canadian bust of all time. The Wolves just drafted Jarrett Culver, who's at Andrew's position, so there's been talk of moving him to the point guard spot. Just 2.5 assists was a career high for Wiggins last season, but given every opportunity to see the offense play out in front of him, and being that he's an improved ball handler, moving Wig to the point seems like the right call. It also allows for more pick and rolls with Towns, and the Andrew Carl pick and roll should be utilized as much as possible for the Wolves. With the explosiveness of Wiggins, I feel like last season there was way too much of Jeff Teague featured, and the fact is, Teague's lost the speed and first step that helped him make a name for himself at age 31. Maple Jordan's a big upgrade over Teague, so A-Wig bounces back if he moves to the point guard spot. Also, don't forget, defensively, he's got the lateral quicks and length to bother guards. If you're new and enjoy the content, hit subscribe for more. The shoutout question is, why will any player on this list bounce back? This was your boy Dflow. Thanks to the world for watching. I'll see you next video.